Thank you all for being here. I'm Laura Cuneo, the Director of Counseling here at Chaminade and the one who emails you all the time. So I'm glad you guys all saw the information so you could join us tonight. Like with anything, we are going to start with a prayer, and I'm going to let Miss Doretha Juarez lead us in that tonight.
Yes, good evening. Let's all place ourselves in the presence of God and get ready for this eventful evening. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Father, Lord, thank you for all that you do for me. Thank you for your guidance and protection. Thank you for leading me in all I do. I pray that you show me your way and guide my every thought and action. Whenever I am faced with a decision, please do not let me figure it out on my own. Help me to understand and know your ways. Teach me to lean on you for guidance and direction in all my doings. Thank you for an answered prayer. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Juarez. With that, I'd like to introduce our amazing high school counseling team, everybody that's here tonight, so that you guys can also put some faces to the names that you hear often. We just heard from Miss Doretha Juarez. We have Miss Janet Savolis. They can just give a quick wave. That would be great. Mr. Daniel Johnson, Mr. Scott Borchard, Mrs. Ingrid Valentine, and Mrs. Kaylee Bryden. Okay. And also joining us, as you also heard if you were on a little bit earlier, our friend and college admission partner, Rick Diaz, is here with us from, actually, he's the Regional Director of Admissions from Southern Methodist University. And you will not be sorry that you tuned in tonight. He is a dynamic speaker, and we're so fortunate to be friends with him and have him join us to share his wisdom and expertise about this process. And as a reminder, the purpose of this evening, our college kickoff annually, is an event to educate you, empower you, help you learn how to encourage your kids, be their cheerleader at home, and just know what's on the horizon for your 10th and 11th graders regarding the college search and the whole process along the way. So as I said, to start, we will hear from Rick, and he will help us for probably about an hour or so and also take some questions. And then we'll break off into grade specific Zooms. So we'll be putting that specific Zoom link in the chat as the evening progresses so you know where to go. All 10th grade families, please go to the 10th grade room and you're gonna hear from counselors. Same for the 11th grade families. Our counseling team has a great presentation for both grade levels to, again, help you walk out with more of the details for the evening. We know you're going to gain a lot of helpful tips and information. And again, we're so appreciative to have everybody here. And with that, Rick, take it away.
Awesome. I got to tell you, Jamie, I love your background. Right now, I'm reading applications, and that's exactly where I wish I were. It is so everyone application that I read, you just want to hug them and admit them all, and they have such amazing stories. So I've been doing college admissions for over 40 years. And I'll tell you honestly, all your faces change every single year. And what's scary is that my face is getting older because I'm actually seeing the kids who grew up and now have their own kids who I first admitted, which is like, oh my God, I remember when you were just a dork, just like your son was. And just, so it tells me that I'm getting older, but that same concern is still there. You're afraid of not doing something right, or everyone knows something and you don't. Rest assured, and I will tell this many a time, that you are in such phenomenal hands. Your counselors are, and good, I can't see them all, so they can't really hear what I'm saying. They are awesome. They truly are, make this college process as humane as possible for all involved. And they really want what's best for your kids. And I know that sometimes you may think that, wow, I've heard this and they're saying this, but let me hear from the admission officer. And we say the exact same thing. And suddenly, kind of like your own kids, well, oh, mom, dad, you're just saying that. And then they hear this from somebody else and they suddenly believe that maybe what you're saying is right. So we're going to do a lot of speed dating tonight, in the sense that I'm going to be throwing out so much information, but rest assured this is being recorded, as well as your counselors are going to be getting a PDF of the entire presentation. So don't freak out about, I missed this entire, my screen blacked out and I missed everything. You'll have opportunity to get that as well. So I will take questions at the very, very end. In fact, when I go into screen sharing mode, I can't even see the chat box, so I can't even tell if you're asking questions, and I will go ahead and do that later. Again, I'm Rick Diaz from Southern Methodist University, and I'm actually based in Southern California, and I grew up in LA, went to Claremont, worked there for a while, then I worked at USC for a while, and I've been at SMU since 1991. So if you don't hear an accent, it's because I purposely don't try and put one on, because when I talk with an accent, people can't understand a single word I'm saying because it is so phony. It's like a bad actor's accent where you're thinking, wow, that person is not from England because they sound like they're from Jamaica, and that is not the same. So I will not try and convince you that I have an amazing Texas accent. But anyway, I work with all the kids from Southern California, and my very first school visit was out in the Valley. And so I'm real familiar with all the schools out there. And so I'll be drawing some comparison between schools a little bit later. But I'm going to start sharing my screen. And Gretchen, I'm going to call on you that when I ask you the question, can you see my screen? I'm going to ask you to unmute and tell me what you see. One time I shared my screen and it was my Amazon cart. I was so embarrassed, because then everyone discovered, like, wow, you buy a lot of cat food. Yeah, my kitties love to eat. So, all right, I'm going to start sharing. I think not yet. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? There we are. Okay, I'm going to share. Not yet. Okay, Miss Gretchen, what do you see?
You're sharing. You're good. Apply to college in the new normal by Rick.
Very good. And I put the new normal in quotes because every year is a new normal. Something new is going on. So rest assured that everyone is going through this process new every single time this happens. So you'll be okay. But I really think this should be the actual presentation. It should be students are freaking out. I have no idea how to stand out. I was in COVID and I don't know what to do. And especially my parents don't know how to make my application stand out. And if you recall, this is kind of how it first started when you were taking them the very first day to Chaminade and they were nervous. They weren't driving and they were like, no, you can't make me. And now you're like, please don't go to college because that means I'm getting older. It's going to be okay. It really, really will be. But students have this big fear. They're applying to all these schools and all they can see is, I am a reject. They are not. They really aren't. In fact, the college admission process is very similar to what we will experience later on as applying for a loan to buy a house or getting your first job interview and not getting it. This is really the first introduction to some very serious, thoughtful thinking about how to proceed. And they have a great safety net with the students, with the counselors, and you as parents. But I'm going to be throwing a lot of myths out there. And some of them you may think, wait, that's a myth. And hopefully you'll get the understanding that, yes, there's a lot of myths out there. And I plan to just blow them all up. The first one is, I want to start really easy. The myth, the world is flat. It is not flat. So back in those days, you should not believe everything you hear. In fact, parents, I've heard them say, oh my gosh, Rick, did you hear? I heard a boy applied. He had a 4.99999. He was biracial, was adopted. He's a first-gen student, speaks 5 languages, and is learning Icelandic, which is apparently the second hardest language to learn in the world after Mandarin. Is captain of the football team. He's the quarterback, the play skipper, and after every touchdown, he jumps on the field and leads the crowd in a cheer because he's also a cheerleader. Took every single AP class that the school offers. He built a homeless shelter out of tuber, which is a native tree, vegetable, fruit thing in the Andes mountain. Gave his sister his kidney. He published research on game theory and its effect on geese migration. And he didn't get in. And as parents are thinking, oh my goodness, if that kid didn't get in, my kid can barely do algebra or write a 10-page essay. And oh my goodness, he's going to live with us for the rest of his lives. I mean, the rest of our lives. And you're freaking out. It's a myth. There are students who are phenomenally qualified and don't get in. And there are students who are such perfect fits. And you're thinking, wow, that kid got in. Every kid is different and every school is different. It's all about finding the right fit. And so here it is. I'm going to give you a game plan. You're going to be so strategic that you're going to ignore all the, did you hear? Oh my goodness. I heard that if you learn how to use the Peruvian windpipe, you get into all the colleges in the Ivy League. No, there is no magic secret formula. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. But there are really 3 parts to this whole process. And some of them you can do now, juniors, parents, sophomore parents, you at least know what's ahead, kind of like yield ahead or, deer crossing. You know what's ahead. You can't do anything about it quite yet, but at least you're going to be ready for it. But there are really 3 parts of the admission process. Number 1, students decide where you apply. Then it switches to us and we decide which students get in. But the third and most important part is you decide where you go. So 2 out of the 3 processes you own. The power really is yours. Don't be intimidated by using that power that you have. So let's start. The process is really, really easy. And there are 3 steps. The first is students. You got to get to know yourselves, and parents, you have to help them get to know themselves. And there's some great questions you can ask. Now, remember I said students can help the parents get to know themselves. There is no we in this process. If I had $1 for every time I heard a parent say one of the following things, we're so excited to apply to your school. We're not sure if we want to go so far away to school, and we are almost done with the essay. My heart just stops. I want you to Google varsity blues scandals. That's over involvement in the process. We are not going to college. In fact, you are not living what coulda, woulda, shoulda happened if you had applied to college. Applying to college is not a reflection of you as parents and your ability. If they don't get into Harvard, that doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It means it wasn't a good fit. So don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's also not a contest at, my kid applied to 10 colleges and got into 8. Okay, well, they can only go to 1 school. So the number really doesn't matter. In the end, did they go to the school that makes them the happiest? We all want happy kids. In fact, I tell kids, I don't care if you come to SMU, and they're just taken aback by, wait, you don't care? No. If it's a great place for you, perfect. If it's not, my life will not change. It's like going to the Cheesecake Factory, and I love the salmon, but if you don't eat fish, I'm not upset that you don't order salmon. It's perfect for me, not for you. In the end, remember, it's their journey. You're there as a safety net. You want them to figure out who they are. And we also understand that they're 17, 18-year-old kids, and they may not know that. But there's some perfect questions you can help them ask to help them get to know themselves. And you'll have access to this list. Ask your student, what's your perfect location? If they say, I have to be near the water, University of Arkansas is a great school, but it doesn't fit that requirement. Ask them, what about that location? Yeah, I have to have the beach because, I go to the beach every weekend. But what about the other 5 days of the week? What's important about the location? And in terms of location, you're not only talking about geographical of mountains, someplace flat you're not going to like, or you like the desert. Okay, the Pacific Northwest probably isn't for you. What about far away from home? What about one plane ride? What about, I want to go to another country for my undergraduate? Ask them these questions. When you close your eyes, what does that perfect college look like? And your college counselor can help you figure out, yeah, you want a small place? Yeah, UCLA is not a good choice for you if you want a small place. It is not a small college. Ask them that in terms of size. Ask them, again, have the very, very important question about cost. Be realistic about, okay, yeah, I know we've got money saved away, but that's for our retirement. And given the way things are, we can't liquidate all of that just for you to go to the school that you want. So we have to look within certain means. And I'm talking about costs in a little bit later. If you want to study French and the school is a science and engineering school and doesn't offer French, then for the student, that is not a good school, even though it's ranked #1 in the world. It's not about rankings. It's about a perfect fit. And now remember, you have to ask the question, okay, Gretchen's son or daughter may want to study biology, but what if they change their mind? If they get admitted into a biology program, then what happens? Are they stuck? Do they have to leave? Can they transfer within schools? These are important questions to ask through the application process. And it's a perfect question. First, Google it to see if the answer might be there. Is a student applying to a college or to a school within that college or a major within that college? We don't want students to second guess what they think is the process. Nobody wants to study cultural anthropology. I really want to be a doctor and I want to study biology, and it's one of the toughest med programs to get into. So I'll put cultural anthropology and then switch when I get there. You may be surprised when they say, sorry, you're a cultural anthropology major, and it completely messes up what the student thinks will be happening. And of course, you want to ask about social life. Where do the kids come from? Is it a local university and you're a kid from Southern California? When you get there and, whoa, where did everybody go? Everybody's gone. I'm here by myself with the other 5 kids from Southern California. What kind of environment do you want? Is it in the city? Is it in the suburbs? Do I need a car? What do people do on the weekends? I don't like cow tipping. That's really, according to Big Bang Theory, it's not something that's very possible. But, what do they do on the weekends? And ask your students, as you're traveling around to college, can you see yourself happy here? If the answer is no, don't apply. You don't want an unhappy kid, which is what I encourage you to actually visit colleges. Now that more and more colleges are opening up, you can do virtual tours. During Thanksgiving, if you're traveling, stop by and see a college. Even if it's not a college they're looking into, ask them the question, what did you like about the school? What didn't you like about the school? Because that will help them fine tune the kind of school they're looking for. It's like, wow, this isn't as bad as I thought. It's bigger than I thought I would like. And I feel very comfortable. That broadens their exposure to the kinds of colleges that may work for them. But you also need to get to know colleges. You can't just throw a dart at a map of all the colleges on the wall. In fact, I want you to, in your head, I'm going to ask you a question. This is where the interactive part comes in. I want you to think in your head, how many colleges and universities are there in the United States? All right. This is kind of like the Price is Right. I'm not going to say, oh, wow, you're over, or you can't bet one because there's more than one. Okay. So Jamie, I'm not going to put you on the spot. Do you have a number in your head? Okay. So here comes the answer. All right, Christy, you're going to, da-dan. Was that higher or lower than you thought it was? Was it about right? It was way higher than you thought. That means that there are that many choices. This does not include community colleges. And remember, going to college and graduating is not always a straight line. In fact, many students, even if they go to a 4-year school, will transfer. So definitely think that, okay, that's a big number to choose from. However, you can't apply to all of them. One size does not fit all. I mean, I've gone in buying clothes like, wait a minute, that, I won't tell you what waist I was looking at, is not the same as that same number of the waist. The pants don't all fit. All the shoes don't fit the same. Same thing with colleges. Every college on paper may be very similar, or some colleges may be very similar in terms of certain characteristics, but they feel radically different. All right. I'm not of the technological age. I was actually around when we had real typewriters. In fact, remember the sound effects from 9 to 5, typing and this? Yeah, I had whiteout. Kids don't know what that is. I had correcto tape that you put in. I thought it was really cool when I got a typewriter that actually you do the backspace and it remembers. So kids these age want to pick up their phone and go, hey, Siri, which college is best for me? I want you to try it and see what happens. You are not going to get an answer. You really won't. It may be, I don't know you very well, or is that the way you talk to your mother? I mean, who knows what kind of answer you might get. But when it comes down to it, your college counselor will help the student, again, with conversations with you, of narrowing down your choices so you are not so overextending yourself. Because if you're overextending yourself, you've not done your research. I'm sorry, if you're applying to UCLA and a small acting school in Florida, they're very different. They're not the same. So be strategic, because applying to college is like having another AP class for your son or daughter. It takes that much work and stress on you. Every time they come, it's like, oh my God. And you're like, oh my God, chill, breathe. We're going to find the perfect place for you. So what is that magic number? Have a number in your head? This is my number, 9. Don't go double digits, because if you're going more than that, you're collecting a lot of paper and a lot of materials, and you're deforesting Brazil faster than they can replenish all the paper that. Have any of you started getting a lot of junk mail in your? Oh, good, Chrissy. I like that you're nodding your head. That was like, oh, have we ever? Just wait. It gets worse. Start waiting for the robotexts and the robocalls and the emails and the like, leave me alone, stop the madness, if you remember that commercial. But anyway, that's what happens. And typically they fall into 3 general categories. I am so going to get in because I am so well above the kind of student they're looking into. I feel really good. This is a pretty good match. It's not 100%, but I feel fairly confident. My counselor says, looking on, and your school has Naviance, I think, right? Yes. And so you can actually go in and say, okay, wow, with my GPA, I'm in the green zone, or wow, I'm so in left field. I have no idea why I'm applying, because nobody has ever gotten in. And as special as your student likes to think they are, or you like to feel that they are, it's not like the golden ticket from Willy Wonka that they're going to get that one. They're going to be that one kid that is so out in left field that gets in. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Reaches are reaches, meaning, you know what? I have a dream to go here, and they may see something. I'm competitive, but who knows? Okay, UCLA, reach. USC, reach. Every Ivy school, reach. And so if you're applying, you're being strategic about why am I applying to those schools. All right. Last year, UCLA had the most number of applications in the entire planet, and they can't take everybody. So some really good kids, like that kid that I described at the beginning, didn't get in. Other kids who weren't as qualified in your head, but there was some reason why the university took them, got in. That's why they call it a reach. The most important part about this whole process is being organized. You can't just say, like, I kind of wonder when that deadline is, or I wonder what they require. You have got to come up with a spreadsheet, and here's what it will look like. So I put some schools down: Stanford, CSUN, UC Santa Barbara, SMU, and you're going to make columns of things that are important to you. Location, be specific. Stanford, Palo Alto; CSUN, San Fernando Valley; UC Santa Barbara, on the beach; SMU, in Dallas, so that it will help remember all the things that you're discovering about a school. If you visited, put the date you visited and how did you feel, and make your own list. I mean, I'm a dad, and visiting with my daughter colleges, I was like, yeah, no, you may love it, but I will not sleep a wink because I don't see a single Blue Angel phone anywhere. And yeah, no, I'm sorry. We're going to go someplace where you feel safe and I feel safe. Cost and scholarships. Okay, let's imagine we all said, okay, let's go out and buy a car. You never pay what's a sticker price. There's always some kind of rebate or something else. And if you thought, wow, I should have looked at those cars, but I didn't think I could get a rebate, and I really, really should have second guessed myself, and I should have really tried to get that car. Same thing with colleges. Do not look at what a college costs, because guess what? Like a school like SMU, 80% of our kids are not paying the full price, because they're getting scholarships, they're getting financial aid. So it's really not that. And I see this all the time when I tell a kid, I'm not going to, because I don't want to scare you off. When I see students at a college fair come up to my table and the first question is, so what do you cost? And I tell them, they go, okay, bye. And then I hear them at the next table and they're explaining, I have a 4.0 GPA and I do this. And I'm thinking, you just walked away from over $100,000 in scholarship, meaning you had at least a year and a half of free college. You didn't even stop to ask, what about scholarships and opportunities? So do not let the cost of a school deter you from applying. Because remember, I said there were 3 parts. You decide where you meaning the student, where the student applies. Then the student decides, well, we decide who gets in, but you ultimately decide who gets where you're going to go. So that last part is where the cost and scholarship comes in. Okay, time for another myth. I want you to think in your head, how do you think we make admission decisions? All right. I really have heard it all. Yes, I'm old enough where the magic 8 ball, and oh my God, Marsha is thinking, will he ask me out on a date? And she turns it over and goes like, okay, I dated myself. A lot of you don't even know who the Brady Bunch are. So I just feel really old now. Okay, flipping a coin, heads you get in, tails you don't get in. And yes, I'm a Big Bang Theory of rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. That's how we decided in admissions committee who gets in. Or even better, here's the magic formula. Yeah, it's from Big Bang Theory. It's a snapshot of one of the blackboards they have. There is no magic formula, because if I said, okay, learn Swahili and make sure that you study sociology, you're going to get in everywhere, because then suddenly everybody's doing the same thing just to get this magic formula. There is no magic formula. There really isn't. So if anyone says you there is, we heard that if you go to this school, you're automatically getting in. Not true. So do not think that there is a magic formula, because you would drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what that is. But here are some common things that colleges do look at: a student's resume, their curriculum, meaning the classes they're taking, letters of recommendation from all sources, the actual grades themselves, any supplemental things that we might ask for, including essays, test scores. We're going to spend a little bit of time about the test scores a little bit later. Activities. What the heck does a student do besides study? I'm sorry, but in the pandemic, there were still lots of opportunities for students to be engaged. We want to know what they did. The actual transcript itself, students, notice I say students write the essay. Last year, I had 2 students submit this exact same essay, and they went to a particular website and purchased their essay. Yeah, we have ways of catching stuff like that. And of course, the GPA. And the GPA is a funny one. Everyone has a different way of figuring out what the GPA is. And I want you to look at this picture very carefully. 2 kids could have the exact same GPA, 3.5. One kid's going up, one kid's going down, and there's everything in between. 3rd semester Spanish, which is typically taken in the 10th grade, is the toughest year in Spanish, because they're learning about the subjunctive. In English, the only way that I remember the subjunctive is thinking about the song from Fiddler on the Roof. If I were a rich man, were is the subjunctive. It's not if I was a rich man. No, it's if I were. It's subjunctive. And learning that in the preterite subjunctive in Spanish is even harder. And so some kids just, their brains go implosion, explosion. Hormones, parents getting a divorce, parents getting remarried, breaking with girlfriend or boyfriend, shaving for the first time, changing schools. Oh, I don't know, this thing called a pandemic. Grades are all over the place. We do not take a GPA and say, you have a GPA. I know everything about you. I will put it in my magic computer and make a decision based on GPA. No, there's all kinds of things that go into effect. And I want you to look at some of these. The competitiveness of the student's high school. I guarantee you, some of your students will be saying, Mom, Dad, thanks a lot. You're like, well, you're welcome, honey. What for? You sent me to that really hard school. And my friends who go to that other school, they have a 4.8 GPA and they brag about their 3 hours of homework a week. And I have 3 hours of homework a night per class. And it takes an hour inch. I've been on the 101, a traffic to get to school, and they walk to school because it's so close. And it's not fair. And we look at the school the student attends. Now, I am not going to say, oh, this is where we rate Chaminade. This is where we rate Crespi. This is where we rate. No, we don't do that. We don't compare high schools. We look at the school's profile so we know how many AP classes are offered. We know how many honors classes are offered. We know what the restrictions are, especially during the COVID time where certain classes were not available. We get to know what the options were for that student in that high school. That's where I spend most of my time, where I am working with the committee. In fact, in a few weeks, I'll be presenting students to the admissions committee and say, okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I present to you the students from Chaminade. Now, first of all, you have to understand Chaminade is tough. Kids don't walk in. I mean, Jamie's kid doesn't come in and say, "Hi, I'm Jamie's kid. Give me an A." I mean, the teacher will think, "Go to the nurse. You're on something. You're crazy." We just don't do that. We look to see the school, the kinds of classes the student is taking. We don't do a correlation. A lot of schools don't do a correlation, except if they're applying for certain majors where, okay, you want to be an engineer and you've never taken anything past algebra. I don't think you'll be a good fit, even though you have A in Spanish and French and Italian and we want to make sure it's relevant as well. That does not mean, and I will say this again, rigor of classes. Do not tell your student, sign up for every single AP, because I've heard that a B in an AP class is the same as an A in a regular class. Not true. There are some teachers, and I know who they are, Chaminade, where you're like, yay, I got a B because it is so dang hard and it was a regular class. When I calculate a GPA, I strip out all honors and AP points. A B is a B is a B is a B. You get 3. Oh my God, Brooke, I love the little doggy in the background. That was so adorable. I needed that little levity because I get all excited about parents saying, take the AP class, show them how you're challenging. Yes, you got all C's, but yeah, no. You want to make sure that they're challenging themselves where it's appropriate. Do not take AP calculus if you struggled in geometry. Do not, don't do it. All right. We look at everything like that. We look to see, yes, it was AP. We don't change the GPA, but we look at it in a different way of how rigorous the curriculum was. We look to see whether the student is taking courses at the local college, CSUN, Pierce, wherever, online classes. Some students, not at your school, will say, dude, I finished all my required classes. And now, you know what? Senior year, I'm taking 2 classes and it's like English and, because you have to, and GovEcon and surf's up, brah. I'm taking, I'm going surfing. And I'm like, dude, you're an athlete. You're really losing this training time. That's what's called senior year. Now, remember when I said about scores? The big thing right now is, okay, what about test scores? There are a lot of definitions, and who knows what's going to happen next year. Colleges are figuring out that, you know what? We did a pretty good job of figuring out what students are best for us by not requiring test scores. The flip side of that is that your student maybe didn't have an opportunity to take a test, so you don't even know if they're going to do well on testing. All you have is the practice exams and the SAT or ACT tutor says, oh yeah, you're going to get an 1800, but you don't know for certain because they may freeze up, they may do whatever. That actual test environment may affect how well they score. So some very important questions to ask yourself, your student, your counselor at school, at Chaminade, as well as the colleges that you're considering. Are you going back to a test required policy? And if so, is it for certain majors? Like you're in engineering, sorry, you have to take the ACT or SAT because we need to know how well you can do in math, or not at all. Is it test optional, but is it just test optional for admission? What about test optional for scholarships? Oh, you mean if I want a scholarship, I have to take the SAT or ACT? Better to find out now than senior year when you realize, wow, the test center is all filled up and my kid can't take the test. Then we're really stuck. Find out these questions now. And that's kind of what Test Flexible is, depending upon admission, scholarships, or honors programs. Some schools have said, you know what? Like the UCs, we're not even going to take tests. You can't even submit them. And we're going to do this for the next couple of years. So very important to ask what the policy is and will be in the next couple of years regarding tests. Remind your student, remind yourself that the student is not just a test scores. Think about the last time you got on a plane. As you got on, did you say, excuse me, flight attendant, I want to ask the pilot a little something. Excuse me, pilot, what was your SAT score? No, your question was, can you fly the plane? Can you get me from point A to point B? You are not asking what their test scores are. Think about the last time you were asked what your test scores were. a long, long time ago. And if you didn't score well, the best answer is, well, they recentered now. It was harder back then. Yeah, I've heard all of those answers. So be as generous and lenient with your own students, your own kids. And so this whole thing about activities, I get this a lot. So I've taken tests or not taken tests. I've taken good classes. Okay, I've heard that if you sign up for every single club on campus, that it looks really good. And so I love Steve Jobs, and it is quality is more important than quantity. One home run, my poor Dodgers, one home run is better than 2 doubles. So it's quality. How have they spent their time in meaningful engagement? Are they making a difference? Some students couldn't. The play was canceled, and so I'm no longer an actor, and they had to do it. I was working on my Eagle Scout, and the senior center is not allowing visitors, so I'm dead in the water because I'm already 18, and they're not giving me an extension. I'm working on my Gold Award, and I was doing tutoring, and now they don't allow outside visitors. How do I reflect that? There are a lot of ways that you can do that. Our question that we're asking ourselves is, what did the student do to help the organization grow? How did it improve? What are the things that the student did to, were you just a member? Were you a leader? Were you an appointed leader? Were you an elected leader? Help us understand the context. And I'm reading applications now where I don't know where the young Star Trek Fleet Academy Cadet Club is. And it is actually an engineering trying to prove the theory in Star Trek and Star Wars. And it's like, oh my God, I thought it might have been, let's watch Star Trek again on the TV. Help us understand the context. How are you, the student, spending your time? There are limitations. I know there are restrictions, but there are students who are actually doing a lot of things of turning their projects into virtual things. And that's what we want to see. We do math, which means that we add up all the time the student says they're spending per week. And isn't it amazing? Suddenly they come up with more hours in a week than there actually are in a week. And so suddenly the credibility goes down. And then we wonder if the students in the Red State Club, the Blue State Club, the Green State Club, the Purple State Club, and they have no interest at all in politics, but they think it looks really good because they have all these different things. And yeah, we can tell that. So help us. Baseball. Okay. Are you going to do it in college? Maybe. And why are you picking a college that is D1 and you just barely made varsity this year and you're just okay? I hate to be honest with you. You're just okay. You're not going to be a D1 recruit. It comes to this come to reality moment. And speaking of reality, guess what? There's a lot of virtual reality out there and reality, and kids don't realize that they intermingled. So I'm looking again at Jamie's background, and I know she's really not in Hawaii, but sometimes when I talk with students, they forget that their camera's on and I can see their entire background. And I will never remember when I'm talking to a student and she was all about, oh my God, Mr. Diaz, SMU is my #1 choice. I really, 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 really want to go there. That's all I've been thinking about. And said, okay, Cindy, that's really cool. But why do you have TCU posters all over your room? Oh my God, no, I'm in my sister's room. She goes to TCU. I really want to go there. We can see your entire world. Like Brooke and the dog going by, Karen in the blurred background. I love red walls. Oh my God, that's so elegant. And Christy, I love the cabinets. And you would be surprised at what conversation starters there are. But it's also scary for kids thinking that they're going to judge me based upon my room looks. I've seen the messiest rooms where I swear I saw the kids, the boy typically, their clothes are walking by themselves because they have not done laundry in weeks or months. Or, oh my goodness, I love the painting. Where'd you get that? I painted it. Get out. Why isn't that on your resume? I didn't think it was important. Girl, go back, send me a new resume. It helps me understand. So before your student goes into a virtual Zoom environment, have them share your screen with you somehow so you can see what we see and go like, yeah, yeah, make sure we shut that door because your little brother just walked by without any clothes on. Okay, yeah, we need to make sure. And I've seen all of that as well. So it can be really scary, but reality, Google your kid. I kid you not. First time I did that, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm a drug lord. Yeah, I'm not from Colombia. And my name is Common. And I said, okay, so you have a little bit of effort to actually, whoa, I see some pictures that you posted online. We need to have this fixed because some of them are not, you want to go to SC and you're going like, go Bruins. And that just may not, we don't have time to do it, but we might accidentally see it. Now, students don't realize that their email might say a lot about who they are. I encourage students to come up with a college email address. Why? Number one is their high school email address is already jam-packed with teachers sending notices about assignments or study groups and tutors and all that kind of stuff. And they want to help involve you in a way that's meaningful. So I tell the student, come with a college email address and give the password to your mom and dad. That way, they can help filter all of the stuff that you're getting because I guarantee you, you might miss something. In fact, we can tell when a kid has opened an email. We can tell if they click on the link in the email. We can tell how much time they spent on the website after they clicked on the link in the email we sent them. And so when the question comes up, so do you think this kid is really interested in us? Someone may raise that point. And if it's going to their high school email address, like the Chaminade one that the kids all get, it may look completely unresponsive because they're focusing on doing their homework. But if you, mom and dad, get access to the email, you can have a college meeting once a week because your kids are going to be like, Mom, Dad, y'all are driving me crazy. Now, remember that spreadsheet I showed you at the very beginning? Turn it into a Google Doc with deadlines and share and have a conditional formatting that when it's within, you pick the time, 4 weeks, it turns orange. And if the deadline is in less than a week, it turns red. And if it turns in 24 hours, it starts blinking and playing dun, 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 as something. That way they are not surprised like, wow, I missed the deadline. Our admission deadline was Monday at 11:59 Texas time. Guess what? Kids applying 11:59 in California. What day is it? The next day, because we're 2-hour time difference, and the system did not let them apply because they were late. You know that old saying, when you're on time, you're actually late? Live and breathe it. Put it everywhere, in the bathroom on a Post-it note. Write it with your finger on the mirror so when this gets all steamy, it shows up without like, how'd they do that? Send them text messages, whatever the deadline is, back it up by at least 48 hours because without fail, Mom, Dad, why are you resetting the internet? I can't get on. And they're driving around trying to find free internet to actually submit their stuff. Or Mom, Dad, you're home. Tell the little brother to stop gaming because they're sucking up. I'm trying to log in and it's still spinning and spinning and spinning. Don't wait till the last minute. All right. So what are some good email address? Here are some examples of what not to do. Rick wants to go to Stanford. Okay, if you can't spell the name of the school you're applying to, that's a huge clue. And obviously, if I'm from Harvard, I'm going like, really? You want to go to Stanford? I know where you stand. Got Coke from me? Please tell me you're not selling drugs on the side. You must admit me. I'm sorry, I don't take kindly to threats. Now, the fourth one is a tricky one. I could do identity theft on so many kids because they put their name and their birth date in their email address. I'm going to Jamaica. I'm going to go with Jamie to that paradise in the background because I can buy airline tickets. All these kids think, oh, it's really cool. I'll never forget. Yeah, we won't either. Do not put identifying personal information. And that's why the last one's the best. Some kind of name and the year they're applying to college. So for Christy, your son or daughter, you have a son or daughter, Christy? Son? Daughter? Daughter.
Daughter.
So it might be, what's her name?
Lexi.
Lexi to college in 2023 at gmail.com. And suddenly now she has an email address that she shared and mom has it. And she is never sharing. I'm really the true Belle Princess at gmail.com. And so, because she will never share that with her, but she can share the Lexi to college in 2022. All right. So I mentioned we track all this information about you. We track a lot of things. It's called demonstrated interest. This is where you need to be really careful, because I know if a kid's been to campus. If you've been to campus, you want to make sure that you've registered so they know, the college knows that you've been to college. But demonstrated interest is really not for us. It's really for you. Remember I said those three things? You decide where you apply, we decide who gets in, and then you decide where you're going. You're using all this interest that you've accumulated to determine what's the best fit for you. When I visited campus, what did it feel like? Because a student's going to use that in, why are you applying? Oh my goodness, when I visited your campus, I sat in front of the flagpole and just sat there, and I saw myself walking around. I felt so comfortable. Everyone was wearing the same kind of shoes that I love to wear, or whatever it was that made them feel comfortable. You go to local receptions where you can meet other students, and you're also saying, oh my God, I don't stand out. I'm not the freak in the crowd because I love engineering and so does everybody else. I think I found a home. And you think if you get admitted, do you want to be roommates? And so you're making connections. And you as parents are making support groups. You are going to need a support group going through this, sharing information about dispelling myths you may have heard. Interviews, it's not just for us, it's also for you, meaning the student as well. They're coming with questions. Not ones like if I get an interview from a student, they say, so Mr. Diaz, where are you located? Oh my goodness, it's on every email I send. It's on our website. Ask specific questions. I want to major in French. I know I can study abroad. Can I choose where in France or maybe the Caribbean or a French-speaking country? Can I go there? Ask strategic questions, because remember, you're buying a home, you're buying a cat, you're getting into a relationship, and you want to make sure you know as much information as possible. When I go do a high school visit, like I have one at Chaminade coming up soon, it's virtual, but I keep track of that. Students don't realize that I make notes like, I saw Lexi at my school visit, that was so cute, and it goes into the notes. All right, we track everything, but the student is also there so they can ask questions of most likely the person who's going to read the student's application and make their recommendation to the admissions committee. College fair, you may think it's a grab fest. I don't know. There's a college fair that takes place at CSUN every year. I think it may be happening. I'm not sure, but no, they don't notice. Are you kidding? The moment you walk away, I'm writing on the back of my card. Oh my goodness, Lexi asked the best question. Her mom was so cute. She stood behind her by 10 paces and let her ask all the questions by herself. We make notes. Or mom said we 8,000 times. And yeah, I'm mindful of that. Sorry, I'm picking on moms. Dads are that way too. Emails and phone calls, please tell your students and tell yourselves there's one of us and thousands of you. I'm currently working with about 4,000 prospective students. If they all write at the same time, I cannot answer it right away, but this is, well, I don't know if you can see me. I don't know if you can see it, but they pick up their cell phone and they, hello, I just sent an email. Why didn't you respond? Right? Yeah, that's how they think that we're just waiting around for them to email us and let me stop my life so I can answer. No, it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm not answering emails, so it's got to wait till the next morning. And my big philosophy is your lack of planning does not make for an emergency on my part. So think ahead and be strategic. I'm a big believer in quotes. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And the reason why I love this quote is students have such innate ability on all kinds of different levels. You may be like, wait, they got into that school, but not that school. Wait, that kid got into that school, but not school. You don't know everything about it. And you're judging the student based upon a preconceived idea of what you think is important. Let us do that. But in the end, it's going to be the student's decision. Finally, I really want to thank you for your attention. And you should all be screaming at your screens right now. You are not the CELTs. Do you know how many times I get in a why the student wants to go to SMU? And I purposely pick Crespi. Why the student goes to SMU? They're like, la, 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 great school, da, 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 da. Go TCU. Oh, dagger through the heart. Spell check does not catch stuff like that. So, of course, I know where I am. Y'all are the Eagles. And so truly, truly, you are in phenomenal. I'm gonna stop sharing because you need to see my face. And believe me when I tell you, seriously, 1,000,000,000%. David, Karen, Brooke, iPad, Valerie, Mariana, Amber, y'all are in amazing hands. You truly, truly are. So I guess I will open it up for questions or the counselors. Is there anything that I missed? I try to hit all the hot spots that Scott, you were the first one that came to life. What did I miss? Ask me a question, dude.
I'll be honest with you, Rick. I mean, you're amazing. It's a lot of fun to watch you, and you're a tough act to follow, man. So I think you did a great job.
Well, thank you very much.
You covered a lot of great topics. You cover a lot of the topics we get questions about all the time. But I know that a lot of the parents might have more questions. We want to definitely take any of those that come up.
Awesome. And parents, notice your counselors are going to say the exact same thing I just said. So it's like, maybe they do know what they're talking about. They do. In fact, one of the slides that I agonized over putting is myth. You need an outside counselor to get into college. No, you don't. You don't. You really, really don't. If you're organized, you just saved yourself a boatload of money. Go get some great sushi. I mean, come on. Yeah, it's dinner time. Mrs. Cuneo, you have a question. I can see this is burning on your forehead.
No, I really don't have a question. Just more accolades for you to follow what Scott said. Yeah, you're just so awesome, and we've been here the whole time. Trust me, even though we went off screen, we've been listening to you and laughing at your good jokes and taking in your wisdom. So we're just so happy that the parents can hear your good.
Yeah, I can't see your direct message. I can't see your direct messages to each other, and I know it's like, oh my God, he went there. Yes, I did.
We appreciate just, some reminders about the perspective with the process, because we know that it can be overwhelming. We know it can be confusing, but it doesn't have to be. And, if we just kind of walk through it step by step, day by day, and just really look at it like, an exciting process, it can actually be a really positive, fun process.
It really is.
Yeah. So those were really, really good reminders.
Questions from parents. Don't make me call on you, Jamie. More questions.
I have a question.
Go for it, Justine.
So we see online a lot of information about acceptance rates at colleges and, what the GPA should be at a minimum. Should we take that as golden, or should we use that as an indication, or should we what is that?
What a great question. The question is about, okay, the acceptance rate was 3%. I'm going to flip it the other way. The acceptance rate is 97%. What if your kid wasn't in that 97%? You just set it all up like, yeah, we're going to buy all the paraphernalia and we didn't get in. What happened? If you, in discussion with your counselors, feels that, yes, it's 3%, you are pretty good, solid. Who knows if you think it's going to work? I would not discourage you from applying from a college, but if every single school that your son or daughter is applying to is 2% got in, 6% got in, it's going to be a long spring. It really will be their senior year. You want to make sure you throw in some schools where, we're in the range. In fact, those are just a small handful of schools that have such small acceptance rates. And most kids are not applying to, I only apply to Ivy schools. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, there are a lot of great other schools that are not Ivies that are phenomenal matches, and your counselors at school will help them pick that. But you should be aware of it and know that only 3% get in, figure out what it is. they'll try and be as honest as possible about here's the range of students who got admitted, usually 50%. And there are some kids have to be in the bottom part of the class. In fact, one mom, when I explained to her, yeah, the student didn't get in because the student was in the bottom half of their graduating class. And the mom said, well, I knew he wasn't in the top half of the class, but I didn't know he was in the bottom half of the class. And so statistics can be run every which way from left and right, you can imagine. So be aware of the statistics, but it shouldn't be the only thing. Do you want a kid to get into a school where it's 3% and they're not happy? Or another school where, wow, I'm a big fish here because I'm the smartest kid around. That goes a long way too. And I got a scholarship. Great question, Justine. Go for it, Amber.
I have a question. How have you noticed that admissions has changed over the last couple of years? Because I have a kid in college pre-COVID and then after COVID. Like, what's changed, if anything?
That's a great question. I actually do a workshop on how the process has changed, and we talked about it a little bit. A lot of it is the actual environment at the school. Some kids, and I'm reading a lot of essays right now where, they struggled in the Zoom environment and their grades were not as strong as they could be. I take that into consideration. And now that they're back live in person, are they going to be as ready as we think? Or they took some summer coursework for remediation? So we're looking at how the kid survived during the Zoom instruction. And it varies from parts of the country to parts of the country. Some teachers were better able to, teaching English, you probably can do quite a good job. Sorry if there are any English teachers out there, a good job via Zoom. Doing environmental science, how do you do that via Zoom? Do you go out into your backyard and, start picking up dirt? And do you go to the beach on your own? Or it's very, very tough. And math can be a very tough one. As a former math teacher, it's hard enough in person, let alone via Zoom. And these things like interaction with other students and getting involved in clubs and sports. And our question really is, Amber, okay, so you weren't able to do this. What were you able to do? And right now, your students are sophomores and juniors. There are a lot of summer college programs out there, which gives them a chance that are in person or even Zoom, that lets them explore different areas. For example, like Model United Nations, they switched from Zoom to, I think they're going to be in person this year. But there are all kinds of research opportunities where kid is interested in statistics. They keep sending them all the information via Zoom. Well, lots of different opportunities. You can start Googling it. But if you don't do it, it does not mean, again, I'm not going to give you a checklist of, oh my God, did you hear what he said? Do a summer program, because if you do a summer program, you're getting into college. I did not say that. Do what's appropriate for the student. And maybe they want to work. Maybe they want to study, go on a tour of England. Sorry, England's not big enough. Maybe it's big enough. Tour of England on a bike with great grandma who's still riding a bike at 105. Or, you know what? Make it a meaningful experience. There's no checklist of do this kind of programs. And there are kids today that I was reading who did all those programs and they weren't successful academically. Just because they did the programs doesn't mean I'm going to suggest admission. So it's a lot of things that come into play. And so, David, I'll get to your question in just a second, but the next question in the chat was, what year is the best time to start campus visit? Yesterday, because you're going to run out of time. Visit a college campus when you're on vacation. Go visit CSUN. Go visit Azusa Pacific. Go visit Pepperdine, Chapman, all the local colleges. Hey, we're doing a day trip. We're going to stop at Farmers Market on the way in and go ahead and see what it's like. Take pictures and get a sense of what these different schools are like. Because right now, oh my goodness, we have the best photographers. We Photoshop everything. So when you pull it up, oh my goodness, I've seen pictures of Chaminade where they don't show you there's a hill that you got to walk up if you parked in the wrong part of the parking lot. Okay. So seriously, we Photoshop like, wow, the cafeteria is huge. No, it's not. We can make everything look so phenomenal. You need to experience. I mean, think about it this way. You're buying a house. Every house looks phenomenal. And you get there and like, is this the same house? Yeah, we're really good at that sort of thing. So don't believe everything you see. You've got to feel it. All right. Another way to think of it is, I love Cheesecake Factory, and they have the most delicious, mouth-watering, flavor-intensive descriptions of things. And you get it and you go like, really? I just paid $30 for what the heck is this? And it tastes horrible? Yeah, we're the same way, except more than $30. We're talking $80,000. So you want to make sure you taste it and see it and feel it, because you need to feel comfortable, and you know your kids better than everyone else. So, Mr. David.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you explain the difference between early decision and early action, and where would you be a proponent of that for what type of student?
Oh my goodness, what a great question. The question is, okay, I've heard all of these: early action, early decision, early action, single choice. The easiest way to distinguish early action from early decision means that student is signing a contract that says that this school is my number one choice, and if admitted, I will enroll. I'm not being admitted to a major. I'm not guaranteed scholarships. It means that if I get the yes, I am coming. I've spoken to my counselors. I've spoken to my parents. I've spoken to my pet rock. I've spoken to my girlfriend or boyfriend. I've used a Ouija board and spoken to my great-great-great-great-grandmother from the old country. And she says, okay, that was a horrible accent. I don't even know where I was going with that. It was supposed to be a bad Texas accent again, but I've spoken to everybody and they say, yes, you're making the right choice. Then sign the agreement. If the student gets admitted, they already know where they're going. The advantage to that is that, okay, now I can relax for the rest of my senior year. But it's a very important question to ask the school: is there any difference in acceptance rate in terms of, if I have this profile, do I have a better chance of being admitted? That's not the reason why you're doing it, but is it then? It's my number one choice, but I may actually be hurting my chances if I apply early decision, because sorry, we only take the top 5 and you're number 6. Whereas if I pay early action, boy, I'm so in the mix that I will get admitted. Ask that question of the college. But again, it comes down to, David, your son or daughter says, Dad, I want to go to school, and they have early decision. Your first question is why? Because it's pretty, pick again. Oh, because all my friends are going, pick again. Because my girlfriend or boyfriend's going, you're breaking up anyway, pick again. You are going to make sure that they know, because I'm sorry, you're not clicking that yes button, I want to apply early decision, until you can tell me exactly why you're applying to that school. It can't be because of the major, because they're 17, hormones, they've changed their major. Wait, your early decision, yeah, you're not even, the school doesn't even have that major. So it has to be that precise. Make sense? Perfect. Okay, I have a question about international school. Go for it, Joanna. I don't know what that question really means.
Sorry, so it's my daughter is currently spending her fall semester of junior year abroad at an international school outside of Paris.
Ah, très bien, très bien.
Oui,
I love it. Ah, vous parlez français aussi, très bien.
And she's having quite a commitment. So my question is,
yes.
In terms of the grades, in terms of college, looking at her junior year grades, obviously it's a very different environment and she's taking all sorts of different classes. I'm hoping it's gonna match up when she gets back to Chaminade in the second half of the year. But do they take into account, I mean, how is that looked at in a sense?
I don't judge. I went to 3 different high schools. And so I am very empathetic to changes for whatever the reason. I look at it as a positive. However, if she is failing horribly, it's like, great, you went all the way to Paris just to fail. You should have just stayed home. I mean, and when you get back, it's like, wow, you really didn't have good advising because none of your courses transfer. I mean, understanding a baguette versus a croissant is like a good class to take, but come on, we're Chaminade. We don't take that class. And so you want to make sure that and this should have been done before they left, that it transfers and it should be a very seamless. Now, automatically, there's going to be a difference because no two teachers teach alike. Whatever math class she's in, be it Algebra 2, is not going to be exactly at the same spot where second semester Algebra 2 picks up. I know. I was in geometry and I switched to my 10th grade, and whoa, you do things differently. It was still called geometry, but it was taught very differently. So work with the high school to make sure things line up and is placed appropriately. From the college side, though, I'm loving it. You're seeing another part of the world. You're going to bring a new voice, a new perspective that hopefully the student will write about and show growth and make choices based upon that experience. I love it. I love that kind. But okay, parents, sophomore parents, you did not hear me say, oh my God, he said, go study abroad. And suddenly Chaminade is empty because every first semester junior year student is now studying in Latvia and Denmark and South Africa because Mr. Diaz says, if I go there, then I can get in. I did not say that. Make it appropriate.
Great. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, touching on the example you gave about a child saying they really want to go to SMU, but when you see a TCU flag in the background, everyone knows that how do you show interest for a specific school in light of applying for multiple colleges? I know that they're dating lots of other schools, and basically that's how we see it, and that is perfectly okay. I just wanted to give the kid a hard time. It was playful, of course, that imagine if you were going for a job at Pepsi-Cola and you pick up a Diet Coke. For us, I laugh at it, but for that, you just lost yourself a job because, that just doesn't work. And so it's okay. I understand when kids say, what, you're one of my top 5 choices. But I have been at college fairs where the student will come up and say, oh, you're my number 1 choice. And they walk away. I can still hear you. Oh, you're my number 1 choice. College after college after college after college. You can't have 5 number 1s. Be honest and say, you know what? I'm still looking at a lot of colleges and I have a lot of colleges I'm interested in. There's no reason to rank them yet. It's going to change on a daily, nightly basis. It really, and it's tied to football. Oh my God, we lost two games and suddenly we're not everyone's favorite school anymore. So yeah, I'm bitter. But no, it really is. It really is okay. It really is. But it does make you think. Kid walks up wearing a TCU sweatshirt, and I will be the first one to say TCU is an awesome school. But think about the message you're sending, All
Good right.
Questions. I'm sorry.
Rick, maybe just one more question for Rick, everybody, before we have to break up into our groups.
All right, Jamie, I love that cat that just went by. Adorable. Yeah, I had to feed my cat early because all you heard was meow, meow. It gets really loud. And he did not like the time change at all. Erica, I went to the old Claremont Men's College. Yeah, I was there when it was all guys, and I lived in Spain my junior year, came back and it was co-ed, and I was actually working at Claremont when they went through the name change. And then I worked at Harvey Mudd for a couple of years. Then I went to SC in 91. I'm sorry, in 84 at the time of the Olympics. So fight on. It's a great school. It really is. See, I want kids to be happy. Really, I have no thing like, oh my God, you're going to Texas A&M, groan, complain. Yeah. Doesn't work.
Thanks for answering that.
You're welcome. Why do you ask? Did I admit you?
I'm a Pitzer Sage.
Oh my God. I almost transferred to Pitzer because I was a psych major and I realized that I was taking all my psych classes at Pitzer. I loved the linguistics classes, and that ended up being my specialty, autism and language acquisition, and just absolutely love it.
Great. Thank you.
So, all right. They're putting all kinds of notes in the junior and sophomore presentation. Breathe. I want to leave you with 2 things. Number 1, counselors are amazing. They are your friends through this entire journey. Actually, 3 things. Number 2 is have your son or daughter come up with a college email address and start using it so they are not inundated. And number 3, remember it's their journey. Remember when they started riding a bike and you took the training wheels off, you wanted to follow them everywhere. At some point, you got to let them go. Y'all were awesome.
Thank you, Rick.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you so much. Parents, please check the chat. There's a link for the sophomore presentation and a link for the junior presentation. So please click on over and we will meet you there. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Rick. Have a great night.
I should have said thank y'all. Sorry, I'm just not being very good. Bye, Miss Amber. Bye, Miss Jamie. You were so much fun. Thank you.
Planet bullshit in the galaxy of this sucks camel dicks.
That was interesting.
We'll talk to you soon, Rick.
Thank you so
much.